Alright, here I am on Hannibal, and trying to figure out Hannibal's own best kind of move here. The problem is, and why I kind of wanted to go hit Rome right away. Rome's gotten tougher now. There's more troops there. There's Scipio there. The Romans have the capacity to keep building up forces. As long as there's no field battles, it's really tough for Hannibal to really get any grip on the Romans. Now he can go siege and assault a city with a garrison force in it, but that's a tougher situation than taking these empty cities, which is pretty simple. Of course, I also screwed up with Hannibal by attacking the big cities, which were empty. I didn't need to do that. So, looking at the situation, though, I don't really want to use my Senate influences. I'm not that terribly interested in getting more troops to Africa, or to Italy from Africa or whatever. And likewise, the Romans definitely want to keep theirs because they want more troops rather than the mobility, rather than limiting Hannibal's reinforcements. So it's a tough call what to play on cards. Something like this, Hannibal definitely can play. These he might want to hold on to. They have some value. This one he probably wants to throw additional units into his Hannibal stack at the early part of the turn. This is interesting either way. It gives you an extra free move. So now, there aren't a lot of cities left for me to take that the Romans haven't already garrisoned. And to some extent, it might be better to take... the bigger cities are heavier defended, but it might be better to take those bigger cities instead. One route up is through here, and then I can take a second move and grab something over here. That doesn't terribly help me, though. Remember, I kind of want to get those Macedonians into play. I'm just faced with an ugly, ugly situation here that I don't know quite how I want to handle. At the very least, if nobody's going to do anything, I'm going to roll on my Senate face, see what I get. Get a 4. I can move an army to Spain. That doesn't really help me. Get one new unit. I'm going to take a naval point. And only 3 actions. That's kind of the important thing. Now, yeah, that's a special action. So I'm probably going to be assigning 2 actions to Hannibal. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide through Capua, hit here, grab this, and then I can grab this capital there, or major city. That'll give me most of the minor cities down in southern Italy. Rhegium, though, well, I'm not going to be able to get that with these forces. They're just too weak. Which means for a second action, damned if I know. For my third action, I don't know. I think I might be... I don't know. I might not be able to take a third action here, because I just don't see anything of value. Alternatively, I could launch an attack up here on Luna. It takes away a potential to get going through here. That takes away a potential for the Romans to get more actual Roman units. But I think taking this southern Italy area is of more overall value. However, the Romans are still going to be outproducing me. And then that third action is just tough. I don't see an easy way to do something. If I had enough forces, I could deploy a general like Hanno or Mago in a siege and just start, counting that down and force the Romans to come out and fight a field battle. But they can probably beat one of those generals with what I could afford to leave with them. I can't leave Spain. I can't go anywhere, basically. So this is a rough turn. The only thing I could do is I could force a naval battle here. And I don't really have the numbers to do that. Now I could throw 2 more naval factors in and probably win that. And that would open up a route where I could eventually maybe reinforce from Carthage. So that's likely what I'm going to do with my third action. So I played a couple of cards, recruited a couple of units in Spain, and then sent them over into Hannibal's stack. How they got there, I'm not sure. But that's, I think, how the stack is supposed to go. And then I'm launching my attacks. The quick march down to Tarentum worked, but there were casualties, some units that I really didn't want to lose. By going through the mountain pass with the city and taking the city out, I didn't have to face attrition. Now, Hanno is going to actually shift his forces into Capua as my third move. The reason being, I don't trust that Naples is going to be able to support and protect me. And I have the option to draw a card, which I of course will. I haven't won additional cards, so I'm kind of running low on what I have. And then I get my production, which it looks to me like I actually have all the minor cities in southern Italy. So I'm going to get 2 pieces of Roman allies. There's no reason not to take Cav, and no real reason to defend the minor cities. They're going to be an issue no matter what. Over here in Capua, I get additional forces, and I get additional forces in East Italy. And what I gotta hope for, I don't know. It's just really, it's such a rough situation in terms of what we're going to get. You know what? I think I forgot to get my other mustering last turn as well. Yeah, I have a Carthaginian general in Spain, so I should have been getting 3 Spanish units for the last 2 turns. This turn and last turn that I didn't put on the board. I don't have anything over in Gaul, and I'm running out of my Spanish force pool, so I've got to send Hasdrubal forward with his force. Probably. Let's see, I have 2, 3, I only have 4 naval units. I probably have to do it by land, which isn't a pleasant thing. Plus, I have to wait until I have the appropriate commands. But I might get commands to move into Gaul, which will allow me, I can move from Spain into Gaul, and that'll allow me to recruit more forces until I get the right to go into Italy directly. Alright, on to the Italian turn. Decisions in this game are not trivial for the Romans either, though. I got my reinforcements in Rome, I have 2 actions total. Scipio's here in Rome with a big pile. You kind of want to use him, but the danger is if he evacuates Rome, Hannibal, or takes a significant amount of the forces out of there, Hannibal can take it. Hannibal can run 2 spaces and get up there. And as a matter of fact, he doesn't even need to. He just needs to move to here and he can attack it. So I have to leave a significant force in Rome. What I forgot was my Senate phase. And I want to replace these 2 crafty leaders here now. Okay, we get Paulus there. And Servilius. There's a lot of bad leaders. I think I want to move one of my forces down this way. And I'm not terribly interested in defending this. And I've gathered 2 consular armies together here. And now the question is for the other one, what do I want to do? Do I have an attack that I can make of value with Flaminius, for example? And I think I can. I think I might be able to take Asculum there. Just by assaulting it. So that strikes me as a useful move. Now this could end up backfiring, but I'm not losing too much here. The only thing I'm losing is some of my offensive capabilities. I'll come back after I fight that battle. First round of combat did not go well. I lost some of the Romans and they did no damage to the Carthaginians here. I had to use a plague to soften them up before I went in because the 4 garrison units here made that just too big a nut to crack, but it seemed worth the attempt. But now it's beginning to look a little more questionable. I could pull out and lay siege to the city. What would that do? It probably means Hannibal will march up to relieve it, which will wipe out my force rather quickly. And then there's the possibility of a combined huge Roman army striking Hannibal. Of course, Hannibal could also be in the city. If I can lay siege to Hannibal in a city, though, well, he'll have to come out and fight his way out. So I don't think that sounds like a terrible idea, and that's what I'm going to do with the Romans. I'm going to gather this force here and put a level 1 siege marker there. And these just go away. They're just used for the battle itself. Romans get an option card. Now they're going to be able to build more units. They have a bunch of cards to give them units. That would have been one argument in favor of Scipio coming out this turn. He gets... Okay, this allows him to put an extra general into play or an extra consul. Or to raise lots and lots of forces. Now, that extra consul in play just means there'll be 5 on the board for the Romans. I don't see that as terribly valuable right now. It's basically, the right to have a proconsul over in Spain or whatever. I don't need additional units, though. And now I get my recruitment. And we got troops coming in all over the place here. Don't have the pink. I think we have green, actually. So I can take another. I think I'm going to be fighting a field battle. So I'll take one of these. I don't have pink, I don't have orange, I have... Oh, I get troops there. I have... these 2 blue areas too. Rome, of course, gets an additional unit. I believe. I'm not sure. I don't think it does, actually. I think it's only major cities and minor cities that produce. And then I get an additional unit for the blue units for control of all of blue. Okay, let me make sure. I don't think Rome... See, Rome gets troops at the beginning of the turn. One Latin in each area of control, major city and all the minor cities. Yeah. So, I do not get a Roman for this turn. I may want to consider at some point taking the regular Roman units instead of the Latin allies because of countermix considerations. Just like before I took Latin allies instead of Romans. See, and that's always a choice there. And then this moves forward. And we're in the 202 BC turn. And obviously, Carthage has to consider whether they're doing something here. What else do they have to do? Well, they have Rhegium as a possibility, but it may just be that they want to gather their entire forces for an attack on Asculum there, which is an interesting concept. Continuing my lethargic move through this game. And don't take this in any way against the game. It's a very enjoyable game. It's just my mood is not in the highest of spirits. Hannibal charged through here. He actually spent a card on his die roll for his event, and all he got was an army to Spain event, which wasn't very good. He had a -1 on it. He could have played more than one card, but he didn't want to. He took Lucaria, and then Cortinium fell with it. Now he's attacking the besieging army at Asculum. The Romans do not have a way to get out of there, unfortunately for them. Sometimes there are cards that allow that, but they didn't have one in hand. So now we have a fairly lopsided battle here against Flaminius. Very quickly, the Romans were defeated, and we have we had 3 hits against them, so that satisfied that with these Latins, but it means they have no cav. Well, they wouldn't have had any unrouted cav anyway. They have 2 routed units leaving the board now. Those guys I get to swing at with all my cav. Elephants are not cav, so I'm going to have 4 regular dice, looks like, or 4 bonus dice and 2 regular dice. Now, I don't know if I get my leadership bonus on this. This is, there's these little things that aren't clear. So I don't think that I can use it in that. Let me see. It's an attack bonus, changed each round. I think it's only during combat rounds, not pursuit rounds. I don't think pursuit is combat. But again, these things are a little fuzzy in this game. And one could take it either way. We also have to look up to see if the leader is going to be killed. Yes, he's going to be eliminated if he has no units with him after the pursuit. And that seems pretty likely, because it only takes 1 hit to kill a routing unit. And we have pluses on these. That's enough. And routes also count as hits. So, all kinds of things here. Well, not routes count as hits. The miss here on the 5 spot that goes to a route in a regular pitched battle is counted as a hit. So anyway, got plenty of hits there. We're going to lose a leader. And I believe that leader is immediately replenished over in Rome. Now he'll come in as a weaker strength leader. And we get Varro. Yay, that's great. That's going to remove this. Now, the Carthaginians won a battle in this area, so they would get another eastern region, but they don't have another one to gain. So now comes the move of, okay, what do we do at this point? Do we make a move to, say, besiege this city, which has quite a strong force in it? We can't assault it. Actually, we can't do that, I don't think. So we did our move. I'm not sure we can start a siege immediately afterwards. I have to figure that out. All right, well, after taking this successfully, the next action, my last action, was a naval action here. I lost most of the rest of the Carthaginian fleet, but I trimmed down the Roman fleet significantly. They're down to only 2 ships, but losing most of those Macedonians is a real issue because I don't get them back easily. Although, well, so one thing I have to worry about that I keep forgetting to look at is these additional Senate modifiers. We don't have any of them here in play, but some of these have been in play, like if Carthage controls all 5 cities in an area in Italy. It's not the case right now. Rhegium is in the southern Italy, and this is in eastern. And basically you have to control the entire area to get this benefit. So I'll just go on to the reinforcements. But you know what I forgot? I won a battle, which gets me a card. And then I'll be getting a card at the end of the turn. And this is kind of a nice one. I wish I had noticed that before. But that can only be done to 2 groups. Oh, no, it's a storm at sea. Oh, well. Producing additional navies is rather cheap for Carthage. I don't really have another use right now for Carthage to produce troops until they get control of the sea. So they might as well build navies, and it's something that the Romans may not be able to afford at this point. Production-wise, it looks like I have quite a bit coming from my cities, but I don't have I have all the minor cities down here, so I get an extra one in the south too. The Romans got 6 moves, right? One of them, well, first of all, they blew their entire load of cards to create this humongous stack under Scipio, which has gone and besieged Aculum. Now, Hannibal could come right out and attack, but he wants to wait a little bit at least. Maybe not for the whole turn. Maybe not for the whole Roman turn, because he's got cards that he can use. Basically, if he can free that up, then on his turn he can move out without having to attack, but he can move out after having attacked if he wishes. We'll see what he wishes to do. But there was another assault here by, Servilius. I moved Paulus here. We're actually down to 3 actions left. I have Varro behind in Rome to defend that. And this is all very interesting. This is actually a fairly close battle. The Romans have a lot of units with +1. Of course, all the Carthaginians are at +1. The 2 leaders cancel each other out. A little bit extra reserve forces here. The Romans kind of need to fight this battle because they're running low on troops. Now, the Carthaginians played a card which they're running low in the sense that they're using up most of their force pool. So they want to cause some damage to the Carthaginians, who have themselves are also running kind of low in terms of the Italian allies, but they have a hard time getting the Africans onto the field of battle. So if I can kill a couple of these Africans and basically make this a wash, even if I don't take this city, that should be kind of nice. All right. So I'll go ahead with that assault. Well, it's definitely not going well for the Romans. A number of their units have been routed. The problem they have is they don't necessarily, they haven't wiped out that much of the Carthaginian force. They've wiped out the garrison for the most part. So they kind of want to stick around for another round, even though the odds are really against them, because they want to make sure they get something out of this attack. They've killed a couple of Latin allied infantry, but that's it. Results can't really be called a success for the Italians. They lost far more than they caused in damage, but on the other hand, Mago, who's here, doesn't really have the forces to break his way out. Now I've got 3 more actions to take, and this is kind of tough. I can't move this guy, except if I had a forced march or if I wanted to roll for attrition. These are all the urban legions. They can't leave Rome, so I'm pretty much stuck with saying I don't have anything I can do. And now the question is, does Hannibal want to attack right now? Nah. But he has to fight his way out. He can't let this get to level 2, because a level 2 siege means the intrinsic garrisons will be killed, and the attacker will now be a +1 if he storms the city. So there's no real benefit anymore to holding the city. Hannibal's got to make his way out now. On his lucky side, he's got his Punic tactics in hand. Did the Romans succeed here? No, they didn't. In fact, I think Hannibal, the Carthaginians may have succeeded. I have to check that. He certainly defeated the attempt to take the city, but no, it has to be an open battle or a capture of a city. So this failed siege assault does not cost a card nor a skill factor. The Carthaginians don't get any leadership advantage off of that. That's cool. Okay, at least there's that. But the Romans are looking kind of weak, because now Hanno looks like he is free to march down to here. And if Hannibal can defeat Scipio, that's a big if. Scipio can, of course, withdraw from combat, but I don't know if that counts if he's sieged. Being stuck in a city is kind of a bad thing. Anyway, let us move forward another turn. Moving here into the next turn, Hannibal is coming out to attack, which he has to do. It was really dumb to get caught in a city. It's not absolutely clear whether Hannibal could retreat before battle out of this engagement and just run away. That makes little or no sense, though. So I'm going to force him to actually fight Scipio here, and we'll see how that works out. He has his Punic tricks, but he can't use the first 2 because Scipio is too good. So he'll probably be using the cav maneuver if he has the amount of cav for it. If he doesn't, he'll use the inspired troops. He has to win this battle. If he doesn't win it, he's pretty much lost the game. And indeed, Hannibal has the advantage in cav. He's only facing 2 cav, and he has 1, 2, 3, 4 available to him, which he might put to the front because he gets an extra die roll with each cav. And that's makes them 2-point units, which is better than this, and maybe better than our Spaniards even. I want to keep this sucker up here because he can absorb 2 losses, which is kind of impressive. Now, there's a timing issue in play here, because the Romans want to play this card against the elephant, which routs the elephant before combat. Of course, they also have the ability to remove an African cav. An African cav could include a better unit than the elephant. So we're going to get rid of that right away. If Hannibal was playing this, we could interrupt and prevent his advantage, I guess. So either way we look at it, the Africans are going to have trouble. And that's his companion cav that just got wiped out. So now his Punic tricks are only going to allow him to double a unit in his front line and rally 2 units from previous routed units each turn. If the inspired unit is cav, it's doubled in pursuit. He You cannot use this option against a city. Definitely using it with his quality cav makes sense here. So he'll be doing that. And I'll try to remember that during this. The numbers are tremendously against Hannibal here. And you would kind of think, well, maybe he could slip away. Maybe he should be able to, but come on, it's a siege. I just don't see it. Start out well enough. It caused 5 hits in a rout to his enemy, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He's down to 7 units in his front line, and the Romans are still 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm actually thinking about putting a weaker unit up there because it takes better casualties. There's not a pursuit here, though. You know what? The hell with it. I want my bonus dice. I think they're better overall. I don't know. Yeah, I'll put the extra dice with the cav in there because I'm not going to get pursued anyway. And we'll try another round here. Oh, Hannibal rallies his unit. Hold on, that comes back. So he's got this special ability. Plus, he actually has a rally ability anyway because he's not... Well, he used his 5+1s. So this... The inspired troops is giving him that extra rally ability, which is quite potent, where he'll be able to recycle his routed units in a way that Scipio cannot. It'll be the cleanest battle in the world. Scipio's getting kind of wailed on here. He's got a bunch of routed units, which he's not going to get to rally, unlike Hannibal. And Hannibal's losing a unit a turn against these 8 dice at +1. He loses, he might be losing 2, but that hasn't been happening very often. But he's also, whatever's routed, he's able to largely recycle. I also kind of cheated in Scipio's favor here. I forgot. I activate Hannibal to give a +1 to this unit, and that's 4 dice at +1, because that's my doubled unit. And likewise, this one, 2 dice at +1. So I may not want to bonus this weaker unit necessarily, although I've got plenty of bonuses left. I've got 5 bonuses. So there aren't a lot of dice that aren't double bonused on Hannibal's side. So he gets a lot of hits off his dice, whereas Scipio, a little bit less, although he still has that +1. The routes don't count, though. Not the same way. Kind of coming down to the wire here. Hannibal getting weaker and weaker, but Scipio not having the reserves available, really. And remember, if Scipio's line breaks, I can chew these things up. Alternatively, though, I've got Hanno here. Unfortunately for him, Scipio will be upgraded if he defeats Hannibal, I believe. Let me look at what that... Yeah, no, I don't think this is an actual combat here. Sally out and fight a pitched battle. When do you get a... I think defeating that battle... Yeah, this would be a pitched battle. So, yeah, if Hannibal withdraws, Scipio gets a level increase. So that puts him significantly better than Hanno. Right now, he's not that much better. On the other hand, Hannibal has lots and lots of bonuses right now. So I don't know which way it would work out better. I stayed on the battlefield too long. One big roll by the Romans. Yeah, they lost more units. But one of the things is routes knock whole units back. Hits count against their defensive strength. So they're able to take twice as many hits as routes. And unfortunately, towards the end, Hannibal stopped getting as many routes. But his army's been defeated. And there is no army here. This isn't a matter that, he can't retreat. He's captured and killed. And that is the end of the game. You take Hannibal out, you win the game. It was a serious mistake for me to be sitting here in a city. The kind of thing that I forget. I don't think that I want to play this again right away. I like the game a lot, but it's not a terrific solo game. I'm hoping that you got to see enough of it to kind of understand that this becomes this really interesting game in the sense that you got to keep Hannibal outside the cities. You can't really defend the cities terribly well with him outside them. His other leaders, if they get knocked off, show up back here, and they're hard to bring back in. So it actually really kind of captures the campaign correctly if you play the game well. Of course, if you get Hannibal caught in a city like I did, and there was some luck involved. If he hadn't lost this round, well, Hanno doesn't have the troops to take Scipio out. So I think just being caught in that city was really a big problem. And whether or not that I played that correctly, there's a lot of things in this game where the rules don't nail everything down terribly well. So you could say, well, maybe he should have been able to escape if he wanted to or whatever. If he was able to escape, he could have left without fighting the battle. That would have upgraded Scipio, though. That would be a pitched battle that was retreated before. Any retreat, even before the battle happens, ends up improving the quality of the enemy commander. So that wouldn't necessarily be the best thing in the world for Hannibal. And then he'd almost certainly lose this city. The next turn that it's under siege, I wouldn't even have to move Scipio. It would fall automatically because the garrisons would disappear. Of course, that's better than losing the game, right? Anyway, as you can see, I screwed this one up pretty badly. But you've got some interesting situations kind of waiting in the wings here with Hasdrubal, this huge force that he hasn't been able to get out of Spain. Part of that being, hey, I could have been playing, this to try to get him out. I played one before, though, and it didn't help me. There's a lot of luck in this. I like games with a lot of luck. But there's also, I think, a lot of opportunity to prevent that luck from screwing you over like it did here. And not that necessarily luck was the issue there. The real issue was that I didn't. You're allowed to leave the city after you take it and stay with a field army. And it was just a mistake. It's one of those things that you learn in this game very, very easily is Hannibal cannot tie himself down to a city because he's too easy to take in a siege. Otherwise, though, it's kind of tough to defend your cities. It's not like the Romans could take this city with Hannibal floating around out here. It was just a mistake to have him tied down the way I did. So, well. All right. Anyway, I'll come back with a review of this. I do have some memories of were sparked of how this kind of works out. But this wasn't a game that I ever played very much. I just have always had kind of this high opinion of it every time that I do pull it out and play it. I think for a light game on the subject matter, it does a very good job. Okay, up it goes.